Welcome back to the Force.
How's your day been? Wanting to do this ever since the day you opened your big fucking mouth.
Now, we're a bunch of goddamn serfs.
She knew who she was with. Wanna come up from this street you owe back?
Come on, take it.
In Nanjing, China, a young girl named Mei has a rare gift. She's a math genius with a photographic memory. Numbers stick in her head forever. One day, while heading home with her friends, she's suddenly kidnapped by a group of men. These men work for Han, a ruthless Chinese mafia boss. Since digital records can be traced, he needs Mei to store crucial information in her mind. At first, she resists, but when Han threatens her mother, she has no choice but to obey. He sent her to New York under the care of his trusted man, Chong, who poses as her father. Meanwhile, in New Jersey, ex-cop Luke is in an underground fight. The match is rigged. He's supposed to lose. But by accident, he knocks his opponent into a coma. The Russian mafia boss, Emil, loses a fortune because of this. Knowing retaliation is inevitable, Luke rushes home, only to find he's too late. Emil's son, Vasily, has already killed Luke's pregnant wife.
Go down in a second, you son of a bitch!
Devastated, Luke doesn't even fight back. The mob threatens to kill anyone he interacts with, forcing him into isolation.
I didn't kill her. You did.
With nothing left, he drifts to New York and becomes homeless. A year later, Mei is still working for the gang. Every week, she visits Chinatown businesses to memorize their earnings, which determines how much the gang extorts. Over time, she learns the ins and outs of their operations. Luke, meanwhile, lives in a rundown shelter. One night, he gives his shoes to a barefoot man with infected feet. The next morning, he finds the man dead, murdered for the shoes. Life is brutal. One night, a woman working for Chong wakes Mei up with bad news. Her mother has died.
She died 2 weeks ago in the hospital. Mei?
The next day, Han arrives in New York for the first time since sending Mei away. He hands her a piece of paper with a string of numbers and tells her to memorize them. She does so instantly, after which Han burns the paper, ensuring only Mei knows the numbers. Chong is ordered to take her to a new location where she'll memorize another set. But before they can move, the Russian mafia ambushes them. Emil, the same man who ruined Luke's life, is leading the attack. A shootout ensues, and the Russians overpower the Chinese gang, taking Mei captive. Elsewhere, Luke is struggling. A thief steals his last few dollars. Wandering the streets, he runs into an old police colleague. The corrupt cops take him to an abandoned building and beat him for exposing their criminal dealings years ago. One of them gives him a gun and dares him to end his life. Luke refuses and walks away. Meanwhile, Mei is brought to Emil, who demands she reveal the numbers. That's when she realizes the woman who told her about her mother's death was working with the Russians. The woman urges Mei to talk, but Mei coldly tells her she doesn't understand how this world works. She's right. The Russians shoot the woman on the spot. Mei stays silent, knowing she'll be next if she talks. Just then, corrupt cop Captain Wolf, one of Luke's former colleagues, arrives at the hideout. He's pretending to raid the place, but is actually working for Han. Emil offers him double the money to walk away.
I lost it by 5%.
Wolf accepts, leaving Mei behind. She takes the opportunity to escape. The Russians and Chinese both realize she's missing and start a citywide search. She ends up at a subway station, running for her life. Coincidentally, Luke is there, standing at the platform's edge, about to jump onto the tracks. But just as he's about to end it all, he sees Mei's terrified face and stops himself. He also notices the Russian gangsters chasing her, the same ones who destroyed his life. Mei jumps onto a subway train, but they follow her. Realizing she's in danger, Luke acts. He latches onto the train and takes out the Russians one by one. One of them recognizes him, stunned that the broken man they once beat is now a killing machine. But it's too late. Luke eliminates them all.
Disposed of it.
When the train stops, Mei, still afraid, runs into the crowd. Determined to find her, Luke overhears a police alert. Corrupt officers are also after her. Moments later, two dirty cops grab Mei, but Luke arrives just in time. He takes them out effortlessly, proving he's not as weak as they thought. May is hesitant, but follows Luke when the Russian mafia appears. A high-speed chase breaks out through Manhattan. In the end, Luke kills all the Russians, takes their wallets, and checks May into a luxury hotel. Elsewhere, Captain Wolf realizes that May wasn't taken by the mafia. Luke has her now. Luke is stunned. He's been off the radar since leaving the police force, staying away from any criminal activity. Meanwhile, back at the hotel, May finally starts to trust him and shares what she remembers about the numbers.
May.
What about this number?
It's a long, boring number.
Luke quickly realizes they're part of a safe combination. May explains she was supposed to learn a second set before the Russians showed up, meaning there are two safes, both likely holding something valuable that the Chinese mafia was dealing in.
So it's the 3 and the 7 that are interesting because they happen too many times to be right.
Before they can figure out their next move, Chong tracks May's phone and storms the hotel with his crew. The place erupts into chaos as terrified guests flee. Luke fights off the gangsters, but in the chaos, he and May get separated. Chong snatches May while Luke barely escapes with his life. Determined not to abandon her, he hatches a plan. Using a stolen phone, he calls Vasily, Emil's son, the same man who murdered his wife. Pretending to be an insider, he claims to have the number everyone is after. Vasily takes the bait and tells Luke to meet him at a casino. Meanwhile, the city's mayor calls the corrupt police captain for a private meeting. Turns out, the mayor and his partner Alex are just as dirty as the gangs.
The one who formed special task force to deal with the crime.
Luke wasn't just an ex-cop. He was a CIA operative placed in the force after September 11th. Years ago, he and Alex took out major crime bosses in an attempt to control the underworld. But after Luke exposed the captain's corruption, he was forced out. Alex, on the other hand, stayed in the game, using his charm to manipulate the mayor and climb the ranks. Now, the mayor is uneasy. He knows Luke and May together means trouble, especially since that safe combination holds more power than anyone realizes.
The meeting place needs to be changed.
Back in Chinatown, May is returned to Han, who demands to know if she gave away the combination. She lies, claiming she didn't understand English. Chong contacts Alex, confirming they still have the girl and can proceed with their deal. It turns out, the Chinese mafia's trade partner was none other than the mayor and Alex. They were set to exchange their safe's contents before the Russians intervened and ruined the deal. At the casino, Luke crashes in, taking out Vasily's men and holding him hostage. He calls Emil, bargaining for information. Emil reveals the truth. The Chinese gang's safe holds $30 million, while the mayor's contains something just as valuable, a disc with dirt on every crime syndicate in New York. The mayor was set to trade this intel to the Chinese, take the money, and let the gangs tear each other apart. Now, with May back in the hands of the Chinese, the deal is back on. Luke realizes the only way to stop the trade and save May is to steal the $30 million first. But breaking into a Chinatown stronghold guarded by ruthless killers? Not something he can do alone. He convinces his old cop buddies to help, promising them a cut of the loot. The crew storms the hideout, leading to an all-out gunfight. Bodies drop on both sides, and when they finally crack open the safe, Luke double-crosses the corrupt cops, killing them all, except the captain, who he takes hostage alongside Vasily. With the money in hand, he heads straight to the mayor's office. Before going in, he calls Alex, demanding to know what's in the second safe. With no other choice, Alex spills the truth. The safe holds a drive containing classified intel on every criminal operation in the city. The mayor's plan was to sell it to the Chinese, get his money, and leave the underworld in chaos. Alex had planned to finalize the deal with Chong, but with the cash now in Luke's possession, everything is falling apart. Knowing he's backed into a corner, Alex follows Luke's orders. He kills Chong and his men, then brings May along for a final meeting. Meanwhile, Luke storms the mayor's office, forcing him to hand over the disc. The mayor hesitates, but in the end, he has no choice. Luke knocks him out and heads to meet Alex. Now holding both the money and the disc, Luke has the ultimate leverage. But Alex has something just as valuable, May. When they meet for the exchange, Luke refuses to hand over the money, suggesting they settle things the old-fashioned way. Alex agrees to fight, but before he can make a move, May shoots him in the leg. Seizing the moment, Luke finishes the job, finally eliminating his former partner. With May safe, Luke ties up loose ends. He lets the captain go, tossing him $50,000 as a payoff to keep quiet. He spares Vasily too, making sure the Russians don't come after them. As for Han, he sends him the rest of the money, ensuring the Chinese mafia will back off. But just in case, he hides copies of the disc all over the city, creating an insurance policy against anyone who might come for them in the future. With everything settled, Luke and May leave town, heading to Seattle to start fresh. A new beginning, far away from the chaos they just escaped.